Hello Cancer, and welcome to your New Moon Lunar Cycle Insight video for the new moon, beginning with the new moon in Virgo on the 9th of September and culminating with the dark moon as we head towards the Libra New Moon on the 8th of October. So we begin this lunar cycle still in the earthy energies. The Sol Star and Mercury are in Virgo. There's still that beautiful earth trine going on as this new moon rises in the heavens. We're still in that process of kind of grounding, integrating, realigning and redefining after that summer of incredible intensity. And I know for you guys it was extra intense with all of that Mars retrograde, that lunar eclipse in Aquarius, all going on in your 8th house of transformation. So there's probably a lot of work that you've been doing over these past few weeks. And the new moon in Virgo gives us the opportunity to ground all of that energy even more deeply, to really solidify the foundations of our lives. And for you, Cancer, this new moon is falling in your 3rd house of communication. So we've got the Sol Star there, we've got Mercury there, and the moon will be joining them to create the new moon on the 9th of September. And this is the house of the throat chakra, of self-expression. So perhaps there will be an issue here where you'll need to talk to somebody. You perhaps might need to create some boundaries. You might need to assert yourself, assert your sovereignty and autonomy at this time. Perhaps you will find yourself drawing to you also some new connections. This is the house of networking. So we may find with all of this tangible earth energy coming together here that you could find yourself meeting some new people or collaborating with others in some way to bring your dreams into manifestation. So whichever way we look at it here, we're looking at using the voice, using our skills of talking and listening and teaching and learning, as this new moon is opposed by Neptune in your 9th house of spiritual learning, of higher knowledge, of wisdom, of belief systems. So this can be a time of spiritual synchronicity as well. This can be a time of insights coming in from a higher source, and it can also be a time of purifying and purging those beliefs that no longer serve you. So this is a time when you'll be looking to find your truth, find what is authentic to you, and then to express it in the world. But perhaps you're finding after this summer of transformation that what used to be true for you is no longer true. So this can be a time of really anchoring in the foundations of the new belief systems that you wish to build. So it's a good time to spend a moment in meditation, in inner inquiry, really thinking, what is true for me on a deep level, not looking outside of yourself for answers, but really connecting in with your higher wisdom. And then if you feel called to do so, sharing it with others. This can also be an energy when planets gather in the 3rd house. This can be an energy where we might feel a bit overwhelmed, a little bit anxious, a little bit stressed. Perhaps we're having some self-deprecating thought patterns. We know that Virgo is a hypercritical sign, and it's an anxiety-prone sign. And the 3rd house and Virgo are both connected with the nervous system. So we might find ourselves a bit overwhelmed, a bit exhausted. And if that's happening for you, we need to go to that Neptune and Pisces, reconnect with our spiritual source, reconnect with the true source of energy in the cosmos. So on the same day as this new moon rebirths herself in the heavens, Venus will move into Scorpio, and this is where she will be spending most of her retrograde journey. She's already in her retrograde shadow. She entered it at 25 degrees Libra on the 2nd of September, and now she is in Scorpio, where she will station retrograde on the 5th of October. So this is going to be a time for us all of deep, deep learning, alchemy through intimacy, learning about ourselves through our intimate relationships, relationship breakthroughs, relationship breakdowns. And also it will be a time of us really learning about how we use our resources, how we use our time and energy, how we value ourselves. And of course, we will all be doing some really deep shadow work with this energy. Wherever there is Scorpio, we are going into the underworld, removing blockages, removing barriers, alchemizing, purifying and transforming so that we can arise, reborn at the end of the transit. And for you, Cancer, this transit is taking place in your 5th house, your house of authentic self-expression, your house of creativity, your house of the inner child. It's connected with Leo themes, so romance, allowing ourselves to be seen, allowing ourselves to be loved and adored. So for you, this could really play out in your relationships. It could really play out in your sexual encounters, in your sexual energy. And it can also play out in the area of creativity. Perhaps you are feeling called with this transit to rework how you share your visions, your ideas, your creative endeavors with the world. And that doesn't necessarily even have to be, you know, something like pieces of writing or art. It can be, you know, how we express ourselves on a day-to-day level through our clothes, you know, how we express our individuality through our personality, how we create ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And you may need to do some deep diving around how you are expressing yourself and how you're expressing these energies in the physical world, as well as all of the general themes that will be happening with Venus retrograde. Venus is going to oppose Uranus in Taurus 3 times during her journey, which will, you know, reach completion around the 16th of November, and then she'll have a few weeks after that to come out of her shadow period. And Uranus in Taurus is currently sat in your 11th house of networks, of friendships, of big visions and dreams. So this is really bringing awareness to how you are sharing your creative endeavors in relation to your big dreams, which will be at this time very much focused around not only serving yourself but serving all of humanity, with Uranus transiting that 11th house. So are you really allowing yourself to be seen? Do you feel like your creations and your unique, authentic expression of self is valuable, is ready to be seen by the rest of the world? And if not, why not? You know, this can be a time of really diving into issues of self-love and self-worth as well, Cancer, in regards to your dreams, in regards to your relationships. And this is also the house of friendship, as I mentioned, in online connections, communities, groups, circles. So there may be changes in these areas of your life as well. Perhaps some old things will have to be swept away, will have to be let go of in these areas as you redefine what it means to be you, as what it means to be a person, a soul expressing itself in a body at this time on earth. So interesting times, and this energy will be with us over the coming weeks and months, and we'll be diving even more deeply into it as the time goes on, as we evolve through these videos. So the sun will be moving into Libra on the 23rd of September, initiating the equinox. So for those of us here in the Northern Hemisphere, this is the autumn equinox. We're moving into the darker period. We're moving into the winter, the time of shedding, of letting go. For you guys in the southern hemisphere, this is the time of re-emergence. This is the time of spring, of summer, of reawakening. But wherever we are in the world, at this moment, at this tipping point, all is in balance and harmony, which is why it's associated with Libra, the sign of the scales. And we have a day and night in equal length. You know, the soul star, the moon goddess, your ruler, in balance for this moment in time. So we cross the threshold of change. And for you, this means that those planets leave that third house that I described earlier in the video when we were talking about the new moon, and they enter the fourth house. And this is the house that is naturally ruled over by Cancer. It's the womb space of the birth chart. It's the place of security, of rootedness, of connection to the ancestors, connection to memory, the very, very watery energy that we find here. And when the sun moves into this part of our birth chart, and Mercury will be there too, because he's going to be traveling very closely with the sun at this equinox point, it can be a time of internalization. So this can be a time when we feel more drawn to turn within, to do our inner healing work, drawn to nurturing and nourishing ourselves in the way that we wish a mother would. And it can be a time when we might be thinking about making some changes in our home space, a time when we feel like reconnecting with family, a time when karmic and hereditary patterns are highlighted. So we often feel that need to just isolate ourselves and do what we need to do to come back into balance. However, this month, the Soul Star and the Messenger will be opposing Chiron in Aries as they cross the equinox threshold. So Chiron, the wounded healer, the shaman, has been in your 10th house, your house of career and reputation, since the 17th of April this year, Cancer. And he has been, again, calling you to look at those areas where you feel wounded, where you don't feel like you want to show up, where you don't feel like you want to be seen, where you perhaps feel unable to assert yourself in your career, take your power back to create the purpose that you wish. You know, he can be reminding you here that it's not necessarily that we're all born with a purpose that we're doomed if we don't fulfill, but it is up to us to create our purpose. And this is something that can be very much related to Venus in the transiting the 5th house as well. We create our purpose, but we have to know, we have to own our worth, we have to own our power, and be willing to set things in motion and be willing to show ourselves to the world. So this can be bringing up that energy for you where your natural instinct might be to retreat, to hide away, but really there is work to be done. There is things that need to be done in the outer world, things that need to be tended to in your career. Perhaps you've been having issues in your career since this transit began, feeling like it's not aligned with who you truly are. Perhaps there's been issues with authority, with patriarchal energies in the workplace that have been calling you to create change. Wherever Chiron is, we often learn through crisis. Or perhaps, you know, you have allowed yourself to be seen and you've received some kind of rejection for allowing yourself to be seen for who you are. So you've gone back into your shell again. So this can really bring these energies to awareness, and particularly around the time of the full moon in Aries. And that will be falling on the 25th of September in tight conjunction with Chiron. So that axis is even more illuminated, and it's up to you at this time, Cancer, to bring into balance your home and work life, your inner and outer worlds. It's up to you to see where you are giving your power away, particularly in these areas. And with Saturn squaring the sun and the moon from your 7th house of relationship, where he's just stationed direct just before this new moon, just as I'm making these videos. We can see that there may be some tension in relationship as well. So how are you going to keep all of these things in balance, Cancer? How are you going to balance your relationships, your home life, your children, with your work life, with your career? What needs to be changed? What needs to be let go of? What needs to be cleansed so greater inner harmony can be achieved? Because that's what we're striving for with the sun in Libra in the 4th house. So a very revealing moon for you. And we also have Venus stationing exactly. She will actually begin her retrograde journey officially on the 5th of October. So that's when those energies that I discussed at the beginning of the video can really come into full power, to come into full effect. And this will be the journey that we will be on up until November and, you know, up towards December as Venus moves out of her shadow in Libra. So on the 8th of October, we have a Libra New Moon, squaring Pluto in your 7th house. So again, this is that home, family, relationship axis being highlighted again. And it's really inviting you into looking at what your deep desires are in partnership. And, you know, perhaps we'll have to do some cleansing of the past before we can really move into honouring our relationships as we wish them to be in the future. Perhaps there'll be some old toxic stuff that comes up to be released around that time as well. But we'll talk about that more in the next video as we get to that new moon. Also significantly for you, Cancer, we have Mars leaving that 7th house of relationship where he stationed direct last month, last lunar cycle, and heading back into your 8th house to finish up that journey from the 10th of September onwards, so just after the new moon. So this is the time when all of the healing inner work that you've been doing, and we know that you have been really doing some deep inner transformation around scorpionic themes that, you know, I've mentioned earlier in the video when I was talking about Venus and Scorpio. The 8th house is very much connected with that energy. So you've had a bit of a head start on this journey. And now Mars is moving back forwards through this house. You can start to reclaim those parts of yourself. You might have been very aware of your woundings in these areas, your woundings around intimacy, your woundings around power, your woundings around shared resources, your woundings around accepting and embracing the shadow. And if you've been doing your work, as Mars moves back forward here, we can start to receive the results. We can start to see the results of the work that we've been doing, and particularly as he journeys up through the top half of your birth chart over the coming months, you'll begin to see some rewards. You know, you might feel like you've completely changed as a person, as I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to pick a card for you from the Goddess Oracle by Amy Sophia Marashinki to complete your reading, Cancer. This is a really interesting one. Illusion. So Maya, the goddess of glamour or illusion, and we can see here that she's peeking out from under the veil. What was previously hidden can now be seen. So if you have felt like the wool has been pulled over your eyes by some person or something recently, Cancer, or you've just been unable to see the way forward, you've been able to not see a clear pathway forward, this is a time when you can start to see through the illusion and into the truth. The Virgo energy allows you to see the details, allows you to see with clear, practical eyes. The Scorpio energy, which aligns with your sign in a trine, is the energy of the oracles. So again, we're really seeing and experiencing that deep sense of perception. So trust your intuition, trust your inner feelings at this time, Cancer, and take steps to clear away anything that is untrue or inauthentic. So I hope that helps, and if you would like to connect with me further, you can click the links below for my Facebook and pages and groups. I'm sending you so many blessings, so much love for a beautiful, beautiful healing lunar cycle, Cancer. Thank you for listening to me.